We are back in studio with James Carafano, Vice President for all things national security and foreign policy at the mothership of the conservative movement, Heritage Foundation. Go to heritage.org, support this organization. Follow Jim at JJ Carafano. Jim, much is being made in the last 4 days of this. Is he a wartime president? And the president's briefing. As a European or somebody who grew up in Europe there's a very different understanding of when you say the word war.
Right.
It's cities being destroyed, it's tanks coming down your boulevard. For Americans, I think it has a different connotation because of memories of World War I, World War II. There's more than one way to wage a war, isn't there? And it's not just about steel on target.
Right. The first thing is, we use the war analogy for lots of things, but let's be absolutely clear. The number one way you deal with a public health crisis is with good public health policy. So I'd rather say he's not a wartime president. I'd rather say he's a public health president, because what he's doing is implementing the policies which are focused on dealing with the spread of the virus and protecting the most vulnerable populations. Here's the most important thing. We've got to slow the spread, if for no other reason, so we don't wind up like Italy with more sick people than we can possibly handle. That buys you time to develop therapeutics and prophylactics. These are ways to protect yourself, ways to help sick people get help quickly, dramatically expand testing so you can identify. Then, maybe we can live with this until a vaccine comes along, if it ever comes along, and we can get the economy cooking again. And that's, to me, the most important thing. We are the best country in the world to handle this. We can come out of this stronger than anybody else. People talk about China.
Explain that. How we come out stronger.
Here's an example. Look, forget about the market. The Chinese just dropped 10% of their GDP, and it's going to be much harder for them to get that back. People say, the Chinese will cut off selling stuff. The Chinese are desperate to sell us stuff now, and they're desperate to buy stuff from us now. So a great paper coming out of Heritage that looks at, it was called PPP, Purchase Parity.
Purchase Power Parity.
Right. So with the Chinese spend on defense, for example, is really 80, 90% of what we spend. People don't get that. But they're going to be struggling. The last section we talked about how the PR war, China is an evil, Chinese Communist Party is evil. The world has seen that. Their economy is going to take a hit just like ours. We can do this, but the most important thing is let's get through the disease, flatten the curve as quickly as possible, get America back to work.
Yeah, this is the crucial moment. As somebody who, in the beginning, I agree, and I still do, that when you look at deaths in terms of influenza and everything else, right now we're doing much better. But there is a big difference here. 143 nations affected in less than 3 months. The priority right now is to break the back of the spread.
Right.
Because if we can break the back of the spread, it's just a smooth glide path after that. And the point that Jim made is crucial. We could be stronger.
So look, here's where Donald, what did Winston Churchill do? And what was the greatest hour? He said, look, if we can get through the Battle of Britain, if we can survive the Battle of Britain, America will come into the war, and in the end, we will win. President Trump has said, if we could break the back of the spread of this curve, we will get through this, and we will end. So if you want to say, are you comparing Donald Trump to Winston Churchill? Yeah. And if you don't like that, well, tough. Listen to a different radio show, Yahoo.
He's really found his frequency here. I think he enjoys our regular chats on Friday. He is James Carafano. We're so delighted to... FoxNews.com for the article.
FoxNews.com, speaking to you from a distance.
Fully sequestered in his personal bunker, as I speak from my personal bunker. But the connection is rather good, and don't look at the fact that we're on video together on YouTube. That's just very good special effects, but we trust each other.
Many feet apart.
Many feet apart, because this is seriously a time where we must break the curve. I call it breaking the back of the coronavirus so that we are not Italy, we're not Iran. And the point that Jim made is the most important one. We went into this as the strongest, the most powerful, the richest, and as Statista and Forbes said a week ago, the nation most capable of dealing with a pandemic in all the nations of the world, and we can come out the other side just as strong, just as powerful, and just as able to deal with the next threat. I'm Sebastian Gorka. This is America First.